This is Moolchand Medcity, one of the largest single-site hospitals in the country. The hospital was built by Moolchand Healthcare in Delhi in 1951. In 2011, Moolchand Healthcare received an investment of ₹100 crore from Sequoia Capital. Earlier this year, Moolchand acquired Agra-based Pankaj Apollo Hospital and is now planning to acquire 3 more by 2017. VCCircle caught up with Vibhu Talwar, the managing director of Moolchand Healthcare, to discuss with him company's expansion plans, major trends in the healthcare sector, and why this sector is getting so much attention from private equity players. Mr. Talwar, tell me about Moolchand Group and how the company started in its journey till now.
Sure. Moolchand Group started in 1928 in Lahore, Pakistan, and Moolchand Group had facilities since 1930-35 in Lahore itself. After partition, Moolchand Group came to Delhi and started Moolchand Hospital, Moolchand Medcity in Lajpat Nagar. The Moolchand Group, in addition to that, recently has acquired a hospital in Agra, which you're familiar with, and continues to focus in tertiary level care as one of its business verticals.
So, what was the objective behind that acquisition?
In the Agra acquisition was a tremendous opportunity. It's a Class A asset. It's a very solid asset. We see huge amount of synergy. Agra is 2.5 hours away from Delhi. So we see a lot of our doctors going towards Agra and hence providing some great docs to the city of Agra, to the citizens of Agra. Fantastic opportunity where they can leverage some of the best strength of our Delhi docs for themselves. So the Agra acquisition is a classic example, I think, of bringing, taking very strong doctors from Delhi and giving the citizens of Agra access to it.
Were invested by Sequoia Capital in the company. So how much of that have you already utilized for your expansion? How much of it are you planning to utilize, and what is the timeline for that?
As I earlier said, we've committed 75 crores of that already towards Agra, and we plan to invest 500 crores in hospital acquisitions and other areas we'll be looking at in the next 2 to 3 years. The Agra acquisition was the first acquisition which we had indicated that we would do and would deploy money against, and that's what we've done.
You've set aside 500 crore for expansion. How have you generated that capital?
Well, the capital will be generated through internal accruals and debt borrowings.
Okay. So how much of it will be equity and how much of it will be debt?
We currently haven't raised any debt, but we would be looking at a 1:1 going forward.
What are your expansion plans in the country in the next few years?
I think we're looking to expand in essentially 3 areas. One is obviously going to be the core area for hospitals, and we are looking at an acquisition. We're constantly looking at acquisitions.
Okay.
We've like to do anywhere from 3. We'd like to do maybe 3 acquisitions in the next 1 to 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. We are also looking at standalone businesses. We're looking at entering the pathology business, and we are also looking in further expanding our IVF portfolio.
Okay. So you're looking at expansion through acquisition, and you're looking at acquiring 3 properties in 1 to 4 years. What size would that acquisition be in?
We are looking at essentially properties which have a bed size of anywhere from 150 to 200 beds, scalable to 300 beds.
Okay. And how will you raise capital for it? You raise it through equity and debt?
internal accrual, debt if required.
Why are you focusing on acquisition for your expansion?
Well, it's due. We're not only focusing on acquisitions for expansion. We also have greenfield projects. If the acquisition makes sense, if there is value creation which we can create, and if there is, if we can provide high quality care, in an area, we will.
Right. And these acquisitions that you're looking at, what sector, what specialty of hospitals are you looking at, and what geographical locations are you scouting for the same?
Our bias would be towards North India, given that we have a presence here in terms of geography. However, if there are opportunities which come up, we would look anywhere. We are not fixed or focused to any particular specialty for a particular hospital, but if we think that we can go in and create value and we can bring value to the customer, then we would look at acquiring assets in these.
Okay. Are you also looking at infusing capital in the future, or looking at capital coming from private equity players in the future?
Yes, I think there would be an opportunity for private equity money for a second round of funding.
And are you looking that from your current PE player? Are you in talks with your current PE player, or do you have somebody in mind? Are you in talks with somebody?
No, we're currently not talking to anyone.
How is the group going to position itself in the sector? Would you be looking at multi-speciality, or would you be looking at would you focus on a particular speciality in healthcare?
For the hospital business, we would look at multi-specialty hospitals. For the other standalone businesses, which I indicated to you earlier, those would focus in their particular areas. For example, the IVF business would only look at IVF. The pathology business would only look at pathology.
Are you looking at having properties overseas as well?
We've not internally aggressively looked at any opportunities overseas. However, having said that, if there is an opportunity, then we would not be averse from looking at it.
Okay. So, is there any acquisition plan that we could hear, or any development that we can come across within this year?
I hope so. We are aggressively looking towards our lab business.
How challenging is it to be in healthcare sector in the country at present? And how challenging is it to look at expansion, looking at the present market?
I think the biggest challenge which the group faces is the quality of talent. The quality of talent is in the healthcare sector is not very strong, and we've made a conscious choice over the last year to take talent from other sectors. The group is very much driven towards systems and processes. We are one of India's first ACI and NABH accredited facilities, so there's a huge mindset towards systems and processes, and there are a lot of efficiencies which we focus on internally in terms of procurement efficiencies and process efficiencies. So one of the big challenges is finding the right talent, finding the right set of people, to take us on this journey.
How stringent is the regulatory environment in the country when it comes to building hospitals and operating hospitals?
I think with the capital cities, they're very, very stringent, and I think that's very good. I think in second-tier cities, they're not as stringent, and the laws are not as stringent. But by and all, the regulatory norms are stringent, and I think that's required. It's required. It takes a little bit of time to get approvals, but I don't find them to be I don't find the laws to be very mundane or outdated. They're relevant and they're good. They're good to follow them. And there's also been, besides regulatory approvals, I think the introduction of NABH, which are quality standards in India, are excellent. We have NABL, which is for our labs. These are good standards to have, and they're fairly strong standards compared to even overseas standards. They're very comparable.
So you said the hospital has NABH accreditation, right? So could you tell me something about that?
The hospital has not only NABH accreditation, but also has JCI. JCI is the gold standard for accreditations globally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are probably one of 7 hospitals or 9 hospitals in India which have JCI, right, and probably one of 2 hospitals in the country which have both. Now, these standards are very, very stringent when it comes to quality of care. I know the JCI standard has roughly 1200 or 1300 measurable elements, which the auditors come and check the hospital on. So these standards are very, very stringent, and they provide high quality care and ensure that you're delivering high quality care. And NABH is also very, very strong. They have a similar number of standards, a similar number of checkpoints, and these drive organizations towards high quality output for our customers.
Has the sector changed much? Now are private equity players looking towards healthcare sector? Is that something which has been new? And if it is, then what is the reason for it?
I think the healthcare sector has dramatically changed over the last 15-20 years. Mm-hmm. At least in the metropolitan cities. There was a large focus towards healthcare was largely driven through trust hospitals. Mm-hmm. Since the 60s, 70s, 80s. The late 80s, the early 90s saw the arrival of corporate hospitals in India. Yeah. And we've seen since 2000, 2005, 10 the emergence of private equity. So private equity has been there in the sector in the last 8 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. We've seen more amount of private equity come into the sector, and we see even an increasing amount of private equity investments occurring over the next 3 to 5 years. And what is the reason for that? I think primarily is that disposable incomes have gone up. So there is a huge demand-supply mismatch, and people would like to pay and get quality healthcare. So you have a model in place where people can and will pay for healthcare, and there's a shift away from government hospitals and trust-based hospitals into corporate players who provide quality care, and thereby giving access to private equity.
Finally, in terms of business and revenue and the holistic economic environment, how do you see the healthcare sector in the next 3 to 5 years in India?
I think there's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of excitement in the sector. We're going to see private equity investment coming into the healthcare space. We're going to see M&A and consolidation occurring in this space. We're going to see standalone hospitals / standalone chains focusing on particular areas like diagnostics, eye, dental. We're going to see collaboration. We're going to see collaboration between standalone players and hospital groups to drive synergy through. So there's going to be a fair amount of excitement, and the group looks forward to actively building its acquisition and greenfield pipeline, and focusing on other sectors, focusing on other verticals in the healthcare space as well.
Mr. Talwar, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.